Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is number 72 in our weekly Learning Life Skills Together Zoom meetings. And this one is the second in our series on the 4 activities. So in Learning Life Skills Together, we have 4 skills and then 4 activities where we get a chance to practice the skills. Now, each of the skills has an activity sort of attached to it, but at the same time, that activity just could be used with any of the skills, really. So here we are with the second one. So the second skill is the skill of balance. It's the skill of how do we work with the emotions that we're having? How can we maybe be with them or change them? So what is it that will bring us back into balance is the question. And one of the big things that can happen with us is that we can experience something that is awesome, something that takes us out of our heads, out of our problem that we're having, and really dazzles us. And, the same thing might be said of seeing something beautiful. When we see something that just makes us feel good, it helps us come into balance. So, when you think about it, this is why we really experience art. This is why we like to go out in nature. If it's a stale day and we're feeling a little down and we go outside and we look up at the sky and we see amazing cloud formations, we start to change for a whole lot of reasons. There's science behind all that. I mean, our bodies actually change because of what we're seeing and how our brain is responding, particularly to nature, but also to the things that people make. So we can see an awesome movie. We can read a beautiful story. We can see a gorgeous picture, and it helps us with our balance. And as we go along and talk even more about this, maybe we'll see how it can help us with all of the skills of not only balance, but attention and resilience and connection. So what I'd like to do is to take a look at one of the most well-known, and you'll judge, but maybe one of the most beautiful poems in the English language. It was written about 200 years ago by William Wordsworth. And it really, I think, helps us get at what exactly changes and how it exactly changes us when we see something that is beautiful, something that is awesome, and when we're in touch with ourselves. So here it goes. It's called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, which is also its first line. So I'm going to read this sort of piece by piece and talk about it, and then we'll read the whole thing together. So, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So here's the first little part. And just let's just notice what's happening here. I wandered lonely as a cloud. So there's Wordsworth's emotion. He is feeling lonely. He's feeling like a lonely cloud in this big place. And we've all felt that way, right? So he's floating along, he's feeling lonely, and suddenly he sees a crowd. So he's been lonely. Now he sees a whole lot of things to relate to, and they're beautiful spring daffodils beside the lake, right? So they're fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So imagine that you're seeing a whole field full of blooming daffodils. That would be quite a sight. That would really take you to another place of feeling, right? No longer maybe lonely like Wordsworth started out, but maybe feeling some sense of awe, even some sense of, wow, I have never experienced something like this before, right? So fluttering and dancing in the breeze, just maybe you can feel that inside you too. So I go from lonely, drifting, nowhere near anybody, to this broad expanse of flowers and watching them flutter and dance. Wow. So maybe I am feeling a little different. So the next little part goes continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle in the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Now we're really getting the picture, right? We have a picture of there are so many of them. There are as many as the stars in the sky. And they're all stretched out ahead of me. Everywhere I look, I see these beautiful flowers. Each glance I take, more flowers, and they're all just bobbing and dancing in the breeze. This is, I think, the awe of this is that it is so many, countless like the stars in the skies. Now, in Chester County, maybe on a dark night, if you're nowhere near a town, you get a little sense of how many stars there are. And so if you can think 200 years ago without a lot of light pollution, imagine that this is what Wordsworth is trying to get us to see and feel. Just so many that we can't even believe it. That's the feeling of awe. And again, there's science here. And when we actually experience awe, our brain chemistry changes. Our bodies feel different because of the hormones that are released, hormones of happiness, of feeling connected, hormones that work on our brains and make us feel better. So just by having this experience of beauty, maybe you got it from the poem, maybe you got it from a memory, but it's all good and it's all working on us to do this thing of helping us come into balance. So the next little part, the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such jocund company. So you couldn't not be happy in the company of all these dancing waves and flowers. I mean, really, this is, if you're there even partly in your mind, this is really working on you. Wordsworth continues, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So he's so caught up in it that he doesn't even notice how much he's feeling and how much maybe has changed for him from that lonely wandering to being in the middle of this giant dance, this galaxy of dancing. So let's go to the last part now. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So now we're months, years past this time when he saw these daffodils and he's feeling kind of empty, vacant, he says, or pensive. So he's really thinking and worrying. And then he thinks about that scene with all those daffodils, as many as in a galaxy of stars, and his heart fills with pleasure and dances with the daffodils. And so just the thought, just the picture in his mind of the beautiful, of something that is awesome, brings him out of that down mood that he's in and into something more like happiness. So we regulate ourselves through awe and beauty, or maybe I should say that awe and beauty regulate us. They help us come back into balance. They also, so this is where all the other skills come in, bring our attention to a fine point as we're looking at something that is beautiful, as we're looking at something that has awed us. We're really deeply focused on that. And so that's a really useful thing too, right? So it can help us, one, as we've been saying, to bring ourselves into balance, but two, to help us be resilient. And that's exactly what Wordsworth is doing here. It's this, how do I get through the tough times of my life? Well, one answer is I get through the tough times of my life with the memories of beauty and awe, the memories of times that were changing for me, that brought me to a different place. And I can do that again. And that's kind of the miracle of our minds and memories and imaginations, is that we can change ourselves through beauty and awe just by thinking, just by thinking. Think about that. I mean, I bet that you have spent time when you're not feeling too balanced, trying to take in something beautiful. Maybe you put on your favorite song. Maybe you take down a book or call up a picture that really brings you pleasure and you notice that it helps. And so when we're talking about resilience, we're talking about It's a tough time for me right now. This isn't going to be over just because I get myself in balance. I need to get myself in balance and then face what's going on, figure it out. It will pass, or I will figure it out. And then I'm back in balance for a longer period of time, right? If I can just get through this. And so awe and beauty help us get through in a really healthy way. I can take myself out of the world of my problem with that beautiful music that I love or that I discover, new music that I discover. This helps us. Same thing, pictures, movies, whatever it is. We can take ourselves out of that little hurting place, go out into a bigger place, and then be able to come back and look more objectively, maybe with less pain, about what it is that isn't going well, right? This is a huge skill and a huge skill to impart to our children. So when we introduce them to beautiful things, when we take them out to have an awesome experience, a clear night with no big moon, ooh, go out and see all those stars, right? In the spring, go out and see all those flowers. Look at the blossoms on an apple tree when it's just got everything going on it. Look together. You both feel different. You both feel better. This is what we're after. And this takes us to that last skill of connecting with each other. And so if we're looking for ways to come back together, if we're looking for ways to make contact with the other person, how about come see this? Come look at this. You know, when we share our attention, we come together and again, there's science to this. We help to bring each other into balance. So, I often did this with my daughter when she was small, which is to go for a walk and point out things, a bird, a bunny rabbit, and we both look and we both study it, and then we look at each other. And you know that feeling. You already do. I'm just suggesting that we can do this by choice. We can make it part of how we are with our kids. We just got to keep recalling it. So we can get connected. We can be resilient. We can come into balance and we can practice attention with awe and beauty, so we can be like one of the greatest poets in the English language, William Wordsworth. So let's just sort of end this with Wordsworth's words. I'll just read this whole poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle in the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So just like Wordsworth, we can use beauty to move us from I wandered lonely to the bliss of solitude, of remembering these things. So even at the end here, where he's alone in his room, he's connected. He's making that connection with himself. This is what we want for ourselves. And this ability, this skill is what we want for our children, I think. So get outside when there's flowers, when there's not flowers. There's always stars at night, and the clouds ain't bad either during the day. So until the next activity, which is making things.